So Adam Pearce comes out with the contract. Punk comes out. This can start out weird because Punk was telling this story, and I still don't even know what the story was about because it was kind of like all over the place.
Well, it was about bad always happened to him in that. What was it, Cleveland?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's right.
He lost his belt there, and then Cleveland is also the arena.
Let me read this paragraph.
Let me read where he walked out. Yeah.
Let me read this paragraph to you because this is like this is like.
He even apologized to anybody that was there 10 years ago.
Yeah. Right.
Because listen to what he said. He said he saw a young woman. This is Punk. Cut his promo. He's telling the story.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, what is this, right? Yeah. Because this is funny. Because this segment turned out great, but it started off of going, "What is he talking about?"
Right. Okay.
You were thinking the same thing too. It's like, boy, this is kind of a flat promo, you know?
Right.
When he started telling the story. So Punk said he saw a young woman by the name of Indy who told him that she felt betrayed as a kid. Punk said he felt the same way when he saw Roddy Piper appear on WCW television when he was a kid. So if you're here now, you're watching at home, and you're disappointed that CM Punk walked out, I understand. And ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. So he used this old story to talk with some girl named Indy. I don't know. So basically, he signs with and they shake hands, and then Seth Rollins music hits.
Right.
And then he comes in the ring, and him and Punk have a good 30 to 45 second stare down.
Great. This is what I compare it to, and a great old school boxing stare down, like Ali and Frazier.
Right.
You know, like those type of stare downs. Yeah.
Right. So Rollins.
By the way, I think Punk. I'm sorry. I think Punk was talking about Indy Hartwell, and probably in the comments, people are going to be saying, "Yeah, duh," but I think that's what it was. You know.
Yeah, whatever it was. So I don't. Whatever. So basically, he said he was home. So then him and Rollins comes out, stare down. Rollins gets the mic, and he welcomed everybody in Cleveland and Punk to Monday Night Rollins. He said he welcomed everybody in Cleveland and Punk to Monday Night Rollins. He said he hoped Punk knew how incredibly fortunate he was to be standing in the ring. He told Punk not to call WWE his home. You abandoned this place 10 years ago. Not only did you abandon it, but you actively tried to tear it down. You spent 10 years slandering me and every single person in the locker room. And then you want to walk back in here and call this place your home? This is not your home. This is my home. And that got a really good pop. And Rollins said he's been here and everyone in the back are his brothers and sisters. He said it's his family and this is our home. And he said he'll do everything within his power to protect it from people like you. Punk smirked. So Rollins said he didn't want there to be any confusion, so he would say it plainly with every fiber of his being. I hate you, said Rollins.
That's really good, yeah.
But if you're going to be part of WWE again, then I want you on Monday Night Raw, said the truth always comes out. He said he and everyone else knows that this is Punk's last chance. Said that Punk would either expose himself and destruct like he always does, and Rollins would be the first person to slam the door shut on his legacy, or by some miracles he has changed. If he has any gas left in his old tank, maybe one day he'll be lucky enough to stand across the ring from him in a World Heavyweight Championship match. And then I'll expose you for the fraud that you are. Rollins said he would show Punk that there are levels to this, and he would wrestle circles around him and let him understand in real time what it means to be the best in the world. Then a CM Punk chant broke out and said, "Are you done? That's your one pass to stand here and speak to me disrespectfully without me coming after you." Punk said he's never asked for anything to be handed to him, and he's always done things stubbornly the hard way. They called for Pierce to come in the ring, and he said he's announced that he's going to be in the Royal Rumble. He dropped the mic and exited the ring while his music played, and Rollins stayed in the ring and smirked. As Punk walked to the back, he said there's only one best in the world, and when he made it to the stage, he looked to the fans while Rollins stared at him and smiled. This is an excellent segment, too, by the way.
Yeah. Yep.
What did you think of this?
Yeah, well, like I said, Seth should have walked out last week on him, but finally he did it this week. And I heard this interview on Sports Illustrated, Seth Rollins talking about CM Punk, and the guys ask him, "Hey, is this a work or is this a shoot?" And he's saying, "No, this is a shoot." And basically what he said in that promo is exactly what he said in the interview. He was like, yeah, he came here, he used the company, he was selfish, I was really mad when he left because he talked bad about me. He talked bad about the company. So
Roman.
Like that was a real promo. And I just say this. Let me just say this. And like my best promos have always been when I'm shooting, because it's more emotional.
Let me ask you a question, Joe, while we're doing this. Mm-hmm. Look up. I want to see some comments that Punk made about Seth Rollins when he was gone that he's referring to. Okay. All right. So they show Punk backstage, and he runs into the Judgment Day, and he says, "Hey guys, where's Rhea?" And Priest laughed and called him a funny guy, and he welcomed Punk to our show. He said he hopes that Punk is the guy who finishes his story. And he held up the Money in the Bank briefcase. Said, "If you do finish your story, then he'll be the one waiting for you." And Priest told a smiling Punk to have a good night, and walked away with his allies before they made their entrance. So then Priest and all those guys come out for a promo. R-Truth interrupts for some comedy with his Christmas lights. And basically they were buttering up, talking about how they like the guy and we like you and stuff for thing. You're funny, but then all of a sudden they close on the guy and beat up R-Truth, and then the Creed brothers made the save.
Just a little info here while I'm looking for Punk and Rollins quotes. This segment it had the highest single quarter hour growth in 2 years. It went from about 1.5 to 1.8 or 1.88. Yeah.
The Punk Seth.
Yeah.
I keep telling him, Seth, it's like there's one thing you cannot deny is that Punk does bring fans with him. Like he's got his cult of personality.
Well, not just that. He and Seth have been going at it since he got there. Right. And they finally saw each other face to face, and they delivered. Right. That's how you do it.
Another thing it says is this segment did not have a producer. So the way, you guys, I don't need to explain this to you, but
no, time out. I want to explain something to you. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that's so stupid. All right. Okay. Because Brian Gerwitz tweeted about that, because there's a story, and Joe, you being like, I'm not being like, trying to insult you here, but you being a mark just doesn't know like basic stuff like this. Hey, Brian Gerwitz wrote about this because somebody reported. Hang on a minute. Where's this here?
Yeah, a few sites have had that.
Yeah, so they report. So the story is, here's the story. Seth Rollins and CM Punk's promo segment from last night's did not have a producer listed. And everybody's thinking, that's probably because there was a shoot. It's like, no, let me read you what Brian Gewirtz wrote, because it's very clear. This is so stupid. When there's no physicality, there's no producer assigned to a segment. It's been that way forever. Doesn't mean there's not a writer working with the talent. The bigger question is, why is anyone within the company sharing scripts and rundowns with anyone outside the company? Interesting.
Yeah. I'm not saying I thought it was a shoot. Obviously, I'm saying that from an outsider perspective, when I see an article that says there was no producer, it says to me like, oh, maybe they just trusted those guys to handle it. They didn't need help or something. That's how I would have looked at it.
Well, bro, we did that. You got to understand that for years and years and years and years and years, we did it like that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You would need an agent to go over, bro. All they did was stand in front of each other and cut promos. What do you need an agent for that for?
Well, yeah, but the way everything's so much more scripted these days,
bro. They're literally all they're doing is standing right there cutting promos back and forth with each other.
Right.
Why would anybody need to assist? Like, those guys have been doing this for 20-something years. Right. But that's why stories like that are so corny to me. Like, people thought that was news. Yeah. That was not news. That was just
that's another example. That's another example because neither the fans nor Joe have ever been in creative meetings or behind the scenes, so they don't know. But that's just another example how all these people that have never been in, if you're not in it, how can you know? You can read all you want, but you're never gonna live it truly unless you experience it.
Right.
I'll never know what it's like to hit a home run or, what I'm saying, in the major league level, or what their baseball lingo is amongst themselves. That's their own little world. Yeah.
So backstage, Punk crossed paths with Drew, and he said, who was talking with Pierce. He said he doesn't care about Punk's story or Cody's story. He cares about finishing his own story. And McIntyre said he and Pierce figured that out already, and McIntyre made his exit. And Pierce told Punk that McIntyre would get a shot at the World Heavyweight Championship on the day one edition of Raw. Then Kofi showed up. Punk hugged him. They shook hands with Gable and Ricochet. Punk said he heard Ricochet is awful at video games. Punk said he had to use the bathroom and catch up with them. Pierce told the trio that he had an idea that he wanted to revive him. It's like I said, bro, let me be honest with you. Okay, every single one of these Punk backstage segments have been flat on 2 straight shows. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, I don't think they've all been flat, but I just think he's a hot entity, and he's kind of how he's interacting with all the wrestlers. I think that's interesting to people.
Do you think it's interesting that said he had to go to the bathroom to catch up with them?
No. I didn't say every segment
why
was
was
good.
that verb? That's my point. Like, why is
Right.
verbiage like this included? That we go like, what?
Yeah.
You know, I don't.
Let me give you two pieces. Let me give you two pieces of info. I think the day one Raw is in San Diego. Okay.
Right.
And I like the fact that yesterday some drunk guy ran into a pole and blocked out all of the power in Joe's neighborhood. How long did that last, Joe?
It's 3 a.m. ish. It came back. Yeah. 3:30.
Oh, I like that. I like that. All that time you had to be running around with candles and because nothing was working.
Yeah.
All right. So next is Caden Carter.
Because it's happened to me.
Yeah, dude.
Caden Carter. That's been our Raw.
Well, let me tell you the Rollins Punk stuff before we wrap it up that you asked for.
Right.
So it's kind of funny because through the years it was more like, especially when Punk did his first interview or podcast with Cabana, he buried guys like Ryback and Roman Reigns far more. Like he never really buried Rollins, but they're trying to tell the story now like he did. It actually just started a few years ago when he did that WWE backstage show.
Right.
So here's some of the quotes. So Rollins tweeted about Punk when he came back on WWE backstage and said, "Let's fight," basically. And on the show, Punk said, "I want my journalistic integrity to be intact. So this isn't the show where you come on and shoot your little angles. Seth needs to stop tweeting and realize that sometimes it's better to be viewed as the fool and shut your mouth or open your mouth and remove all doubt." So Seth called him a coward in response. And one of the things that I guess probably bothers Rollins and Roman as well is Punk took credit back in the day that the Shield was his idea, but he didn't want Roman. He wanted Rollins, Moxley, and Chris Hero. So he kind of complained about that on the podcast, but he said it wasn't his hill to die on. So Roman wound up in the Shield, and obviously we see what happened. But since then, Rollins has been the one more so talking, really. Like he did this interview with Houseman here, the one where he said, "Stay away, you cancer, get away from me forever."
That's because they're all working. They're working because they knew what they were going to be doing. So
yeah, I'm saying yes, exactly. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
right.
but I don't. It's good for the story, but I don't think Punk ever really had an issue with Seth. I mean, he never said anything publicly like that. It was more he had a problem working with Ryback, and he had a problem with Roman being pushed into the Shield ahead of his guy, I guess. Yeah.
All right.